Hi, I'm Ken Oakes with Oakes Daylilies. It's the end of October, and I thought I would just talk a minute about what daylilies look like at this time of year, and then talk a little bit about what to do with your daylilies as you move into the winter season. So if you look around here at the foliage behind me, you can tell that we've already had some cold weather here in Tennessee. We had a few nights in the upper 20s last week. And it's taken its toll on the foliage a little bit. You can tell more so on some. This actually looks still pretty decent and green, and this has got some more yellow and brown. So if you're new to daylilies and your daylilies start doing this in the winter, that's what they're supposed to do. Daylilies are hardy perennials, and they will come back year after year. But in the winter, this is what happens to the foliage. So a question we get, pretty regularly relates to, are daylilies bulbs or not? And there's some confusion on that, and rightly so. The word lily is in there, and there are lily bulbs. But daylilies are plants, not bulbs. They have roots attached to the green leaves, and so there's not a bulb down there. It's actually roots. And so daylilies need to be planted while your season is warm, unlike a bulb, which you would plant in the fall. Typically, you'll want to plant daylilies at least 2 to 4 weeks before your first hard freeze in your area. And if you're not sure when that is, we put a link down in the comments to a map that you can look and see when that is. So here in our area in Tennessee, you'll be wrapping up a couple weeks ago probably, although you can push the envelope a little bit if you will mulch your plants, give them some extra winter protection. Part of the problem is not necessarily that your plants are going to freeze, although that's certainly a possibility if you plant them too late. But if they don't get established into the ground, we can have freeze-thaw cycles here in our area that are very common in the spring. And you'll go out and you'll see your plant actually heaved up out of the ground, in which case it sits on top of the ground and freezes and dries out both. So in any case, you'll want to stop planting at least a few weeks before your first hard freeze or frost. So daylilies vary in the kind of foliage that they have, from dormant daylilies, which like to go completely dormant in the winter. There will be no green showing on them, all the way up to evergreen daylilies, which like to keep growing all through the winter if possible. Now we're here in Tennessee, and anywhere pretty much zone 8 or 7 and colder. In the winter, the cold weather is going to get your daylily foliage. It's going to nip it back anyway. So for you folks, it really doesn't matter which one you get. But you'll notice on your daylilies that the dormants are going to be completely gone, and the evergreens are still going to have some green foliage sticking up to the top. Now you folks down in the deep south, zones 9 and 10, where you really don't get much of a cold weather in the winter, you're probably going to want to stick with the varieties that are listed as evergreens or semi-evergreens, which are kind of in the middle, because those like to keep growing, and the dormant varieties like to go dormant, and they won't have that opportunity in your area. So I wanted to talk about trimming the daylily foliage. So we trimmed all of this foliage here in our display garden back in August. We did that just because, well, frankly, we had some weeds in the garden. And also, some of the leftover stakes were unsightly. It was just kind of looked a little unkempt. So we came through with a weed eater pretty much, and weed eated all of the beds about, yay tall, 6-8 inches or so. And I like how the foliage comes back, these nice clumps of mounded foliage. And so, as you look forward to next summer, that's something you can keep in mind to do in your beds if they look unsightly after the end of the season. Sometimes they look just fine. You don't have to do anything to them. But if you need to, feel free to trim them back, and they will come back with nice foliage like this. So we get asked quite often about what to do in the winter with the daylily foliage. The short answer is you don't have to do anything. You can just leave it, and there's some benefits to that. The dead foliage will act as an insulator to the plant. But if you want to pull it off, you certainly can. This plant here, starting to go dormant. It's still early, not quite winter yet. And as this one moves on into the winter, this will go completely brown, and then you'll just be able to pretty much just pull the foliage off. It'll all come off pretty easy after it all goes dormant. Some of the more evergreen varieties will never go completely brown, and you would have to trim those off, and you certainly can do that as well if you want to. But really, it's just for cosmetics. It doesn't do any good or harm to the plant either way.